Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest. Fred Armisen.
Prince Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast.
What's up? What is up? It's your boy, Elia Einhorn. Welcome back to the Talkhouse Podcast. I gotta say right at the top of the show, we have some incredible episodes coming up. I'm talking about Tame Impala with Caribou, Deftones with Reggie Watts, Tegan and Sarah with Dead, and more. Take a moment right now, make sure to subscribe to the show, and follow us on socials. That's at Talkhouse across the board. Some very dope stuff coming your way soon, including today's show. We have an incredible conversation between none other than Carly Rae Jepsen and mxmtoon. To help me intro today's show, joining from the city of wind, an executive editor on the line.
It's Josh Modell. What's up, Elia?
Hey, how you feeling, man?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, very well. Nothing to say.
We'll let the ladies do the talking today.
There we go. Now, of course, our regular listeners know Carly Rae Jepsen from her episode with none other than Brian Wilson, but the world at large adores Carly Rae Jepsen. For the last near decade, she's been one of the most beloved pop stars in the Western world. Carly is 4 albums into an incredible career that's seen her regularly embrace new sounds. A little Quiet Storm here, some classic 80s beats there, sometimes working with cutting-edge pop production, and she's collaborated with everyone from Haim to Justin Bieber to Blood Orange to Sia. Outside of her own music, Carly starred in the title role of the 2014 Broadway production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella musical. She's also acted in Fox TV's Emmy-winning production of Grease Live. Keep that in mind, because there's some Broadway talk up ahead.
Carly Rae's last proper studio album was Dedicated from 2019. And then this year, she released an album of dedicated outtakes called Dedicated Side B. And then, of course, part of the reason we're here today is that she sings on a new mxmtoon song called Okay on Your Own.
Boom. That's a collab, man. Tell us about mxmtoon, Josh.
mxmtoon is sort of a new breed of pop star who came to prominence via YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud. And she's also a multi-hyphenate. She's not just a ukulele master singing incredible little pop songs. She's also a podcaster, graphic novel author, and an all-around social media influencer. She's 20 years old, and she's already built a pretty incredible career. Her latest release, the Dusk EP, features production by Tune-Yard's Meryl Garbus, so you have your indie cred there, and vocals from Carly Rae Jepsen, so we're in the big pop world.
And she also just kicked off a year-long podcast project in collab with us at Talkhouse called 365 Days of mxmtoon. This is a show that features stories from history that occurred on each day, old diary entries from Maia, and more. It's really fun.
And really smart. I'm jealous of her, and she's 20. What's she going to be doing in 5 years? Well, actually, we hear in this talk about what she's going to be doing in 5 years, don't we?
We do. But before we get to that, let's hear her new track featuring Carly Rae Jepsen. Here's Okay on Your Own.
I need some time to myself so I can comprehend. I'm not so scared to admit I could use a friend.
2 generations of pop stars there. That song appearing on the brand new EP Dusk, a 7-song release that just dropped October 1st.
In this fun and fast-moving conversation, Maia and Carly talk about the art of songwriting. They talk about live performing.
Yeah, they go deep on both, and it's great to get their insights there. We also get both of their origin stories, which is a lot of fun to hear how they became who they are.
Yeah, and I can't believe we've gotten this deep into the intro without saying the words, "Call me maybe."
Yep, well, that was definitely what put Carly on the world's radar. But since then, she's learned so much, and she gets to share some career advice with Maia here.
Yeah, it's great to hear this sort of cross-generational collaboration and camaraderie.
Should we roll the tape, man?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Hi, Maia.
Hi.
Yay.
Hello.
Hello. I do really like your top, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. You know what? I tried to, I don't know, look slightly cooler today. I figured if there was a day to look slightly cooler, maybe today is the day. Yeah.
I mean, it's changed in this time, right? I mean, it's like any day that you put on like jeans and put a little effort in, it's like, oh, it's a whole new world.
I literally feel like I could rule the world if I wear actual pants. But how have you been doing throughout like everything that's been going on? Like, how are you personally?
You know, I'm good. It's crazy times, that's for sure, but I'm getting into my flow with it. I think after this much time, you start to kind of normalize the crazy. I am starting to write a little bit more over like Zoom sessions and things and kind of get into a flow of working again. But being creative over Zoom is a whole different world than being in the room with somebody. How about you?
So I haven't even done co-writes before over Zoom. So how has that worked for you in the process of like reconnecting with people and doing collaboration that way?
It begins by awkwardly staring at each other through the phone.
Oh my God.
And then asking the usual questions of like, how is everything going for you? Where are you? And then we kind of get into talking about the flavors of music that we're attracted to and kind of sharing Spotify playlists, especially if it's a stranger, because you kind of need a jumping off point. And then I found the most success by just sort of giving the disclaimer of, let's write a bad song today. And
I love starting a session out that way. It's just like, it removes all of the pressure of like trying to make something good. Because if you don't make something, who cares? Whatever. You're just there to possibly explore the idea of making a song. Doesn't need to be a good one.
Well, and also it's almost like a different language how you communicate creatively. Like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses as a partner, as a team? So yeah, I kind of start with that idea. And then usually we follow up with another session later on once we get into the flow of, hey, I'm more taking care of the lyrics or you're more taking care of this part. It's nice. I think one of the perks of it is there's extra time in between each decision that you're making. So you really are a little bit more thoughtful about a yes or a no or a part that can be redone versus I think sometimes just jumping to a snap decision. So I think that for that reason, there's some strengths to this whole new world, this whole new process.
Totally. I've yet to try it. I hope I can soon, but it's definitely the awkward part of like video calling for every single thing that we have to do now.
Absolutely.
It's such an adjustment.
Absolutely. So I want to get to like the beginning of you picking up the ukulele in your bedroom. And am I right in thinking that nobody, like what age were you? Nobody in your family was really aware that you started like posting some songs online. Yeah. This was all kind of your own secret world you'd created, correct?
Yes, that's exactly it. So, I mean, I started playing ukulele when I was 12 years old, and it was because my music teacher like forced me to start playing that instrument. And I had been training classically on cello and violin before that point because my mom from a young age told me to play music as like a form of discipline and everything. And so that was my training and everything. I was never like a rebellious person, but I always say my biggest rebellious act was choosing to quit the cello so I could play the ukulele, because it was like the epitome of everything that I didn't get to do when I was playing classical music. Like, there are so many rules to classical music and I love it a lot, but being a player, you have to be the right kind of person for that world. And I was just a little bit too all over the place in order to do that. And so I picked up the ukulele from music class when I was in middle school, and we were forced to write a song for an assignment. I ended up really enjoying it. And so I started playing in kind of the background of my life after that point and writing songs and stuff for the first time. But I didn't really think about the possibility of doing it for a job until way later. And my parents didn't know that I enjoyed writing music until like I was 17 either. So it took me a long time to kind of let people into my world of music creation and everything. So it's been a very odd journey for sure.
That's amazing. I mean, so I know the first song that you wrote was sort of a school assignment, but what was the second time that you kind of dug back into the world of, this is something I kind of want to do, not for work or for pressure, but for fun?
I think that really the first song I think of when I define the beginning of my music career, I even like, it feels funny saying that because I'm 20 years old. Like, it's ridiculous that I have the opportunity to do this in the first place. It's like a job. But I wrote this song in February of 2017 that was called 1-800-DATE-ME. And it was just like a song. It's the cringiest title, Carly. It's the worst title I've ever come
it's cute. I like
it. And it was just like, it was about being single and lonely. And I posted it on SoundCloud and I had 200 followers. And I don't know, I think that was like the beginning of like displaying my personality and music to the world, was just this satirical song about being like all by myself. And it really kind of just made me feel like I should probably keep trying to do this and see if it was a possibility. But it's just been odd. And for me, it took me a long time to get to a point where I felt like music was something that I wanted to do Did you ever have something that you wanted to possibly pursue before you thought about becoming a musician?
The answer is kind of no. I
Interesting.
know, yeah, no, I mean, I never understood those people who, even in elementary school, were like trying out, like one day I want to be a firefighter and the next day they wanted to be a teacher. Because I was like, what could be better than making music? And I didn't know about the concept of songwriting right away. I was more just into singing and performing, and I was a little ham, kind of just putting on like little mini musicals for whoever would watch me at home. But
That is so cute.
But then I think around age 7, I started to do like local talent shows. My dad would accompany me on the acoustic guitar and stuff. And the very first song that I wrote was actually a protest song when I was 9 about cutting down the big trees. And it was a very bad song, but very well
Go
intended.
Carly. Go Carly.
And then I think I was around age 17 too when I first started to really feel like I could emote in a different way through music. I had a crush on a boy in high school, and I didn't know how to tell him, so I wrote him this note. Or this letter that I was, thinking maybe one day I'd be brave enough to pass to him. But when I read it back to myself, it had this immediate like cadence and rhythm to it and some melodies even. And I went and picked up my father's guitar and tried to figure out all the chords to go along with it. And that was sort of the first real romantic song that I ever wrote.
Oh my God. I wish I was as brave as you. I think like I just wrote unrequited love songs where I'd post them online and be like, they're never going to hear it. This is fine. I'll never interact with them ever again.
Darling, don't get me wrong. I never showed him this song. This song remains for me. No.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, what was your parents' response when they first kind of saw this sort of world you were creating online and kind of got an insight into this talent that their daughter had that they didn't know about?
They were like freaked out. I mean, both of my parents are teachers. And so like one of the biggest messages from them growing up for like being teachers and, preaching to parents and stuff within schools was just always be aware of what your kid is doing online. Otherwise, keep eyes on what they're posting on the internet.
Of course.
And whatever you put out there is out there forever. And of course, I was on the internet posting whatever I wanted to at any point, and I didn't tell them about it. And they were like, we know exactly what our kids are doing all the time. And so for them to find out that I was making music, I think at first they were like terrified that I had shared too much personal information or whatever it was. I was thankfully pretty cautious about being on the internet. And
of course.
Yeah, I have a brain. I was pretty proud of the fact that I was able to hold my own and everything.
So it wasn't like nudes or anything like that.
No, thankfully it was nothing scandalous or anything bad. It was literally just like they found out their daughter was writing love songs on SoundCloud, and that was
it. Could be worse.
It could be so much worse. So I think they were relieved with that, with the fact that it was like she's literally just creatively expressing herself and making content, and so they were good with that and everything.
Okay, well then, and I guess another question I'd have for you is, you said that the first sort of songs like sparked from a bit of loneliness or that feeling of, really having a space in your life or a void that you wanted filled. Do you find that today you still kind of emote best when it's more of a melancholic feeling or a joyful feeling, or is it any kind of emotion to the extreme?
I think that it's kind of turning into any kind of emotion in the extreme. Yeah. Definitely in the beginning, I think sadness was a lot easier to express than happiness. Yeah. And I would say like as a general rule of thumb, I'm a pretty positive person. I tend to be an optimist about a lot of things. And my personality seems pretty counter to a lot of the sadder music that I write. But it took me a really long time to kind of figure out how to emote happiness and write about happiness and what that feeling and expression and everything was like. And I think I really got to do that for the first time earlier this year when I released my EP Dawn, which is, it's the other sister EP to the project that's coming out later this year that you have featured on so lovingly. And so I think that was like a really interesting test for me, like to try and write happy music for the first time ever, which was really cool and a really exciting opportunity. But I mean, for you, have you found, like, do you gravitate towards a specific writing style?
I think my answer would be any emotion in the extreme, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do listen to really melancholy music. Like that is sort of my go-to of more somber, like whether it's jazz or it's just like chill, kind of like the opposite of what I write, which sometimes is like quite pop and over the top and quite, quite euphoric even sometimes in terms of feelings that I'm trying to capture. But it's odd because I'll go to almost do the opposite of write something really emo, but then I'll flip the switch on it and kind of feel like I want you to feel like you're on top of a mountain with like wind blowing through your hair.
Totally.
And
yes.
So I would say that you're correct. For me too, it comes down to just anything that's such an intense feeling that you almost need to document it or process it through the art of writing.
Yeah. I feel like music has always been the most natural way for me personally to like express my emotions. I've tried so many times to just keep a journal or like a diary or to be somebody who can kind of just write things down just for the sake of writing them down. But music has always been the way that I felt like this is the only format that makes sense to like process what I've been thinking about and what I've been like trying to express in words.
I love that.
I don't know, like have you found there's a specific reason why you gravitate towards music, or is it more just like a sense?
I think it really does kind of, in a therapeutic way, sort of help me process emotions. I think even for sadness, I think it brings like some sort of poetry and beauty to melancholy. And I think in the opposite way, it sort of really captures the moment when you are feeling that fantastical high of new love or whatever it may be. Even in one situation in my life, if I've gone through an experience, sometimes I'll write at it from like 5 different angles. And then I'll sort of almost get to try out different ways I could feel about what just happened to me and sort of process it. So it's a really personal thing, but I also really value the magic that songwriting has for being able to connect with other people and find other people that have gone through similar feelings. I think when you have a crowd in a room full of like-minded sort of soulmates and kindreds, there's nothing like that feeling.
Yeah.
This show is brought to you by Patreon, who ask creators, are you tired of being paid in clicks and likes? Social media and streaming platforms help people find your work, but getting you paid is another story. With Patreon, you can stop rolling the dice of ad revenue and per-stream payouts and grow your creative career through the direct support of the people who care the most, your fans. Since Patreon is built for creators, not advertisers, you'll skip the middleman and develop a sustainable income source by offering a recurring membership to your fans. In turn, they'll get access to exclusive community, premium content, and the chance to become active participants in the work they love. The creative system is broken. So if you're a podcaster, video maker, musician, writer, illustrator, a creative person of any kind, sign up on patreon.com now. That's patreon.com. And change the way your creativity is valued by building the steady income stream you deserve.
Do you have like a specific song in your memory that you remember listening to for the first time and you're like, this is what I want to write like, or this is how I want to make other people feel when they listen to my music?
I mean, many for sure. My family as well, I have parents that are teachers.
Oh my gosh.
So I have 4 parents because I have 2 step-parents as well, and all of them are teachers. So we have similarities in that. So they were all really into folk music growing up. So that was my main appetite. And I think the closest I got to like a pop vocalist was Sinead O'Connor.
Okay.
So the song Nothing Compares to You, that was obviously written by Prince, but covered by her, was like my anthem. I would sing it in the shower. I would sing it in the backyard. It was just something about the I don't know, the feeling that was captured in that song. And I think also I really got into the Spice Girls when they came out.
As you should.
I mean, it was like adrenaline after everything that I was used to at home, from like Cat Stevens to the Spice Girls. It was an odd combination, but a weird cocktail of music. But there was something about the joy and even the silliness of that really kind of sparked a chord in me of what is it about pop music that I'm so attracted to. And I think it is sort of similar to what like I love about old jazz standards. It's like it really packs a punch. There's not a lot of room to waste words or waste moments. And I love kind of the challenge of that. But okay, so my turn for a question for you.
Yeah.
You're 20 now, correct?
Yeah. 20.
You're 20. and you're just getting started on this amazing journey. So I would say in terms of like future sort of dreams or goals that you have for yourself, can you list a couple? They don't have to ever come true, but be brave enough to say them out loud. How's that?
That is a good task. You know what? To be honest with you, I'm not great at thinking about like goals. And I think that this was like a challenging thing for me at the beginning of like approaching a music career, was thinking about what are the things I'm striving for? Because, you know, coming from the background of having educators as parents, nobody in my family had any idea or knowledge about the music industry. So how am I even supposed to like verbalize the goals that I want to have for myself when I have no idea of what's possible within the world of music? And so, I mean, for me, it's always been difficult to think about the 5-year goals, and I could list off the things that are not necessarily music related that I want to have achieved by the time I'm like 25.
List some of those. Those I'm excited about too.
I really want to adopt a cat and name them Bean. That is one of my personal goals.
Very cute.
And then I also would love to have a vegetable garden, and to own a grand piano. That's like, those are the 3 things that I have in my mind figured out.
Those are amazing things. I feel like that's your 5-year plan right there.
Oh my God. So for me, that's kind of where I'm at with it. And because I'm 20, I'm like, you know what, there's a lot of room for whatever to happen. Like,
Absolutely.
Who knows what's going to happen down the line. And like, music was not something that I ever thought would be possible for me. And I've been lucky enough to have it become my job. But there's been so many other creative avenues as like a person that I love so much, like visual arts, or, you know, thinking about animated series or video games or whatever it is. Like, it just is super exciting to think about all the possibilities that can lay in collaboration with music and making art in any form in the future. Yeah. So
one of the things that I think is interesting in the world of like musicians and pop artists or artists in general right now is just sort of looking at I mean, this is something that I think about a lot, is like, who are examples of women in music that I think have done it well, have kind of like aged well, who have kind of gone through the whole journey of this and have a lot to like sort of say about their life, because you see a lot of people kind of escalate and then like kind of crash and burn, or like sort of disappear in this sad way, or they seem sort of like they've turned crazy. And I think it's such a thing to hold on to when you do have those idols. I think for me that would be like Cyndi Lauper, Annie Lennox. I think that there are so many people that I'm like, wow, they're just like building this whole, not just career for themselves, but life for themselves, where they look like it's rich and full of everything. Do you have people like that in mind that you look to? I mean, Robin would be one of them as well, who's still quite a young lass, but like on this journey of developing in a way.
Yeah, totally. I think like it's been fun for me to be able to connect with people and make more, you know, acquaintances and have conversations with people within the music industry, because I think it just gives me more insight as to who they are as people, and getting to hear their stories from them personally, I think is always such a privilege. And I don't know if I have someone right now that I look to specifically, but I think what that means for me, at least, and personally, what's exciting is to be able to redefine like what I want that to be for myself within my own kind of music realm. And when I think about being when I think about being a musician, I just think that title is becoming increasingly more open-ended with the possibilities of like what that means and what you can become as you be an artist and a creative and everything. So I think that's just really exciting for me, is to think about, you know, it's not something that feels like it's kept behind like a glass door anymore. Like, there's definitely people that are just superstars and they're amazing. I look up to them so much, but I think it's really exciting too to think about the different forms of musician that we can take and redefine and explore over the years to come. You know?
I 100% agree. Wise girl.
Thank you. Only 20. Let's go.
But I mean, you can hear that, and even in your lyrics and in the songs and even the video visuals that you put out, you are wise beyond your years. It's like exciting to see.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. It's been an interesting process to kind of go into the industry and grow up really in like being a young person. And I mean, for you even went through the process of like coming into the entertainment industry from a young age. What was that like for you to kind of adjust to it all?
You know, there were different phases of it. I actually feel quite blessed and lucky that my real introduction, like beyond Canada, where I'm from, like when I came and broke out of just that like little safe bubble, it was a shell shock. But I was quite older than you. I was 26 when Call Me Maybe came out.
Wow. I remember personally when that song came out and I was like, I was talking with my best friend the other day and we're just like, it's kind of not to go off too much on a tangent to look like a fangirl, but like we were just kind of like, this is crazy. You're working on music now and you just did a collaboration with Carly Rae Jepsen. We were dancing to Call Me Maybe when it came out when we were younger. So it was a sweet reminiscent moment. Yeah.
No, but I mean, similarly, I can remember coming to Los Angeles and just feeling a little bit like Alice in Wonderland. Like maybe someone had snuck me some mushrooms and like everything was a trip that I was on. It was just, it was super trippy. But I would be at these parties where you're just looking at like Justin Bieber and then like Mike Tyson in the same room and like trying to have like a keep it cool, like this is normal straight face where inside you're going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But in general, I would say I was really lucky for the fact that it kind of happened to me in a bigger way when I was a little older and I had sort of gone through the grunt years of like playing the Piccadilly pubs and like trying to like hand out my demos to people. I was even on Canadian Idol at one point. And
Let's go.
But it was, it was a feat for me to even get on the radio in Canada. I was really stoked about that. And at that point, I was ready to throw a party and say to everyone, like, we did it! and we were like number 9 on iTunes in Canada, and I felt like it could never get better.
Wow.
But then it took on a whole new life of its own, and it was a really fun adventure. But I would say in hindsight, the place that I'm at now in my career, where I get to like, without thinking too hard about what I'm supposed to be making versus just authentically do what I'm like really stoked on and dying to share and have my own little platform for that is the happiest that I've been in this career so far.
That's amazing. That's like, it's just so, I think it's lovely when people just say that it's like, it gets better, like in any form and facet, just like there's such an opportunity for people to still grow into who they are and their artistry and everything as things go on.
Yeah, and
That's
you
awesome.
do. You adjust as you go. You find your people, and your team really do become your people, I've learned. And it's the most valuable thing to have the reins of your own project, but also know that people are helping you drive in the direction that you want to go. And it looks like you've got that down, no problem.
I am very lucky for the people I work with, and I think like, I feel, not to float my boat, but I think it's been helpful to definitely feel like I have a sense of self throughout all of it. And like, also, we talked about this briefly before, but having the ability to say no or, when to say yes, and like not feeling like you have to agree to every single thing that comes knocking on your door, and, making sure you stay true to your values. Like, how do you do that? And I think that has been something I've constantly think about is just, how do I maintain my sense of self throughout all of this and really feel like I can still visualize and see who I am when I look at the art that I'm making.
I mean, that breaks my heart open to hear that. I love hearing that. And because I think for a while my nickname was Yes Carly. Like if you would ask me, can you fly here and can you I was like, because there was this eagerness of feeling so lucky and so grateful that you don't want to kind of let anyone down. But sometimes it would be pushing through things or saying yes to things that didn't make sense to me. And it's just nice to kind of hear that you're already got your head so on your shoulders of like, no, we're gonna check in every once in a while to feel that this is going the way that I want. And that's amazing, Maia.
Yeah. It's totally something I'm still working on.
Me too.
I'm sure it'll be a forever battle that we both go through. I think like as women in the music industry or any entertainment field, like you go through the phases of trying to figure out how to be confident enough in your own voice and, your experiences to be like, you know what, I don't need to say yes to every single thing. Like, what was that like for you in the process of just feeling, being a woman, like diving into all of this and, getting to the point of like not sacrificing who you are? I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does, totally. I can remember when I first met with like the label and team in Los Angeles at 26, and we're sitting with a table full of people, and there must have been about 12 of them, and they went around the table being like, hi, I'll be doing your merch, and like, hi, I'll be doing your like international travel, and like at the end, I think I stood up like all doughy-eyed and said something like, I've been waiting my whole life to meet all of you. And I felt so excited to have this team when I had been beforehand, like putting up my own posters around town with that mixture of flour and water, which I could never mix correctly. So it just looked like someone had vomited all over my posters by the time I tried to get it right. But it was just such like a breakthrough to all of a sudden have a team to help. I think because of my gratitude, though, what came with that, unfortunately, was this sort of feeling of like, okay, you guys know better than me how to do this. Yeah. And that's what I said to you earlier, of just like, it's really important to not let that paranoia take over, because no one's going to have a better vibe about what feels right to you. And I think that's what your fans want to hear too, is sort of like, who is Maia? What's Maia about? Because anybody else can do the other things, but only you can do that, right?
Totally. Absolutely. Authenticity is like one of the most important things ever. If you aren't being honest, I think that comes across to the people that are watching you and listening. Like, it's so evident if somebody is faking who they are for the sake of like trying to please other people. And I think, this is something like as a person, I think too, is just important that you become comfortable in who you are and your personality and everything about you, because it's just so much easier in the long term for you to just live authentically and be who you are. Like, imagine the amount of energy that you have to expend if you're just constantly trying to fit the shell of something else. Like, oh, that'd be exhausting.
I mean, and it's not just in the music aspect. It's in everything.
Totally.
It's in
Absolutely.
It's in fashion. I mean, I have some very unfortunate outfits that I could show you that I have worn. One particularly stands out. It was a pink tutu situation. I think we were going for like an Avril Lavigne meets like a ballerina. Like, it was a really odd choice, and I'm glad that phase of my life is over.
Reclaim the tutu. I'll try and redeem it for you. I'll do my best to give it another go.
I mean, we can bring the tutu idea back. I'm fine. Now I can embrace it.
Maybe it'll match the pink hair. You can see if you can give it another go. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I mean, at this point in my life, I've just learned that you play with whatever is comfortable to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In terms of like your journey towards all of this, what was the difference between writing for you versus the desire to put it online, to actually go to that next phase? Because that's a big jump to like, here's something I'm doing versus I want to give this as an offering to the public, to whoever may want to connect to this.
I actually approached the internet because I thought nobody was going to listen to me. That was actually, I think people are surprised when I tell them that sometimes, because I think so much of, my generation growing up, the goal was to be an online personality. And I think that was definitely something in the background of my mind that I told my mom occasionally I wanted to be a YouTuber, and she would just laugh at me and be like, yeah, sure. Okay, go do your homework. Like, that's not going to happen. And, I approached writing music and putting it onto a space like SoundCloud or YouTube because it felt like shouting into a void and nobody was going to pay attention to me. And I think there was a comfort in the knowing that you could share what you were going through, but also that maybe nobody would pay attention. And, being a teenager, I think so many of the experiences that we go through and the thoughts that we have, we try to keep them to ourselves, but we also really desperately want people to hear us and listen to us. So I think it was kind of like, for me, this like Hail Mary being like, you know what, if somebody picks it up and listens to it, great. If they don't, that's also fine. I'm happy with either outcome. And so I went to the internet because I was like, no one's going to hear this. I'm just going to put it out there and it can exist in its own form. And, I got really lucky and people did listen and they shouted back from the void and commented on things and liked it. Yeah.
It has to be noted, Maia, that the unique thing about you is you don't have to be embarrassed about what you put out as a teenager. I think most of us, myself included, going into the void of the internet at that age and hearing like my protest song, I'm glad that the internet didn't exist in that same way at the time, because my God, I mean, there's this show that I love watching called Mortified. I think it's on Netflix. And
I love Mortified.
Okay, yes.
It's the best.
Exactly. And it's this concept of people, adults, going back into their youth, pulling out their teenage or childhood journals and reading them publicly for people with like the perspective now to have humor at like to look with humor at what they wrote and how kind of emo they were, ridiculous. But I think the difference is what you're making seems very much like an adult already in the making and somebody with like profound thoughts. And that's where swear your parents should feel safe that you went to that place, you know?
They were definitely relieved to know that I wasn't doing anything worse. But I think it is funny, like, let me tell you now, not all of the embarrassing things were posted online. I recently went through an old journal and I was reading the things that I wrote down. And I'm like, I'm really glad I didn't tweet this out or have access to some sort of text post to post this when I was 13 years old. It would have been a disaster. Yeah.
I mean, you gotta live with those though too. They make you stronger. I look back at some of those things and I'm like, yep, that was me at that moment.
Proudly claim it. You know what? I turned into the person I am today because of it. It's okay. It's totally fine.
Hell yes.
Yeah, oh my gosh. And this is kind of off of a tangent, but like, I know that you're a musical theater nerd. Do you have like a favorite musical or project that you just like adore? Is there like a comfort one for you?
So many.
Okay.
I want to say that this is like a new one for me. I know I'm late to the game of Hamilton. I had seen it in Los Angeles and it didn't like, there was so much hype around it that it didn't vibe with me. And I'm almost embarrassed to say that because I know it's such a beloved thing. But then
that's a fair opinion. Don't worry.
But then my boyfriend made me watch the actual like live recorded version of it where you could see the original cast up close and personal. And I am wrong. It's amazing. I am converted. I'm a little bit in love with Lin-Manuel. Don't tell my boyfriend. I have a huge crush. And then other than that, I go to the old school musicals a lot. Like everything from Jesus Christ Superstar to Fiddler on the Roof to like My Fair Lady. I'm like a sucker for those. It was obviously really fun to get to play Cinderella on the Broadway role. All I remember from that time in my life were like the bloopers, which apparently there are no bloopers in Broadway. They're just mistakes, but I called them bloopers. My favorite memory from that moment was opening night where I was practicing putting Cinderella's little glass slipper on the staircase. God. And it was my first time in the 20-pound dress, and I went down to place the slipper and accidentally kicked it into the audience. And then,
oh my God.
Luckily, no one was in the theater because this was the day before opening night. So it was just like a run in the afternoon. But I remember saying to the assistant director, like, has anyone ever done that before? Because I was the second girl to play Cinderella. And she's like, no. And you cannot do that. Like, we will get lawsuits. And I was like, all right, okay, I'm not nervous. Oh my God. Everything's fine.
It's okay. You did it on the right night. You unconsciously knew that it was the correct day to do it. It's okay.
And you know that laughter that happens when you're so nervous that you can't stop laughing? I went into one of those fits of like, it's okay, everything's going to be fine. But no, I do love myself a good musical. What's your favorite musical?
Actually, Hamilton too. And I think it wasn't really a feeling, like I saw Hamilton in 2017 when they came to San Francisco and I got to see it at the Orpheum. And that was like one of the first, I think that was the first musical that I actually ever got to see. So I'm still someone who like is venturing into the world of musical theater, and I love musicals and all the ones that I've heard, but I haven't really gotten the chance to see many of them live. But Hamilton is my personal favorite, and I recently rewatched it because it came out on Disney Plus, and hadn't gotten to see it with the entire original cast. So of course you have to watch it that way. And I watched it with my 7-year-old cousin and my 5-year-old cousin, and they would not stop talking the entire time and asking me questions. Who's that? Who's that? What are they talking about? This doesn't make a bunch of sense. And, you know, I just think like they eventually got it. And there's also a Muppets version of Hamilton.
Is there? Honestly.
And that's their favorite version. And they will not stop playing all of the songs. And they watched that one before they saw the actual Hamilton. And so the songs would start playing and they would start to sing the Muppets version of the song instead of the actual one that's on the musical. And I just, oh my God, that entire experience redefined it.
I'm not gonna lie, that might be my movie choice tonight, the Muppets version of Hamilton. I didn't know it was something that I needed, but I do.
It's like a fan-made thing. It was hilarious. They are obsessed with it. And you know what? I gotta give it to the guy that did it because he does all the voices for every single one of them. It's kind of crazy.
Is incredible. That is incredible.
But
I mean, I have a dream
suggestions.
one day of, I think like, you know, dreaming out loud. It would be so fun to be a part of the music making of a Broadway musical. That's like like a pop musical in a way that it hasn't been done. I've been talking out loud too long about this, but it's something that I think.
Tell me all about it. No, that's so fun. I love that.
Yeah. And especially during this like, you know, break that we've all been kind of forced into, it makes you think, well, maybe this is the time. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
Do you know what you would make the musical about? Like, do you have any themes or ideas that you would base it around?
I mean, well, it's no secret that I'm rather obsessed with the subject of love.
Yes.
and all its complications. So I'm sure
Yes.
it would be surrounding that idea. But no, I don't have it fleshed out. Luckily, I've made a lot of friends while I was living in New York who are in that world.
Yeah.
And so we sometimes, every time I used to fly in to New York when life was normal, we would have these like we'd be conspiring over dinner parties together of like, one day we're going to do that thing. And so, yeah, we've been kind of on the phone more and more about the concept of seeing if we could bring that sort of dream to fruition at some point.
That would be amazing. I would,
It would.
kill to see a pop musical. Oh my God. It would be amazing. Like, I just love, like, I don't know. I think what's super fun to see is just all these musicians that I look up to personally being able to take their music projects and then put them into like another project or form that they also are so passionate about and love so much, and like getting to see it take shape and watch it. I don't know. It's just super exciting. Like, I can feel the excitement of it.
I have a question for you. So,
Yes.
going from the intimacy of being in your bedroom and making these songs and, like, as you said, putting them out into the void, not knowing if they would be heard or not.
Yeah.
After that, did you find, like, your first stage performance? What did that feel like? Did you have nerves? Was there a feeling of complete, utter confidence that you didn't expect? Was it somewhere in the middle?
I was so nervous. Oh my God, I was terrified. I remember my first live show was literally 250 people. And like, I played in Los Angeles at the Moroccan Lounge, which is like a newer venue, or not newer, but like more new in the indie scene of like singer-songwriters coming to visit and play live shows. And I was terrified because, you know, being an act where it's just you and your ukulele, that's like very vulnerable to just go on a stage and sing with a microphone.
Yes.
And all of your mistakes are just visible and audible to the entire audience that's standing in front of you. And so I was terrified of messing up, which of course I did. Like, if it's your first time playing a live show, of course you're going to mess up. You have dreams of it being a flawless performance. There's no way that's happening. If it does for you, good job. So proud of you. It didn't for me at all. And I remember playing, and I think the first live show I ever did, I literally forgot half of one of my songs, and I was playing it, and I was sitting there strumming, and then I just stopped. Like, people started looking around, they started laughing a little bit. They're like, haha, what happened? And I was like, I just forgot the entire song. And they were like, oh, that's so funny, ha ha ha. And I was like, do you all know the song? And then everyone was like, we were singing along, and all of a sudden we also forgot the lyrics. So I was like, okay, well, you know what? This is fine. I've done the worst thing you can possibly do in a live show. And if I can recover from this, I can recover from anything. So I just marched on forward. And that was it.
I mean, I love that story for multiple reasons. A secret I will tell you is that
Yes.
I have this weird theory, and this is some sort of trick I played with myself in my own mind. I love messing up early in a performance. And like, this is a weird thing, but it kills all the nerves that I have, because there's this weird trick in my mind where I go like, well, there, I've done it. And then all I have left is the energy to like prove myself versus like the feeling of, so the moment that I've like messed it up, there's something that's like, all right, now we just have fun. It's over now. I did the worst thing. Let's go play.
I love that.
Yeah. I always
my
kind of
God.
look at it as an empowering turnaround of almost like, of like humanness and intimacy of like, well, you saw me do that thing, or I flubbed over that little like move or that dance moment or that like note I wanted to hit perfectly, and now we just embrace it. And honestly, it's been like maybe the thing that's got me through the mistakes, but it actually was really something that to this day I still rather enjoy of like, well, I didn't hit that perfectly, now let's go.
That's perfect. Well, it's such a good way to take it, because I think like mistakes, we can demonize ourselves so much when we make an error over something. And if we can just readjust our relationship to making an error or making a mistake, it just helps us to overcome it and be like not so uncomfortable with the not knowing or, facing it head on.
And I think also as a performer through like my journey, I don't know how you feel, but I changed my thinking on another thing too, which was everyone here is looking at me and I have to deliver something for them to see if they like me, to see all those sort of thoughts. It's switched into my role here is the conductor of a room of happiness, or conductor of an energy that is going to be about them. And I'm just like one aspect of it versus there to be judged or looked at. And as soon as I switched my thinking on that, it changed. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about the energy energy of the room, and my confidence grew, and everything kind of, I was thinking less about like, where does one put their hands? And like, how do you, it was, the self-consciousness was gone in that switch for me. I don't know if you're there with it, but I found that to be helpful in my whole journey of getting used to being in front of crowds.
That's amazing. I love the shift in paradigm and just like thinking about it that way. Because I think I definitely experienced that feeling of pressure of not wanting to let these people down because, you know, they pay money to come and see you and you want to make sure that they get a consistent experience and have a good time. And you don't want to mess up because that might screw up the whole entire night. But in reality, I think as long as you're keeping the same energy, and that could be anything, you can make a mistake and it can still be an amazing performance because that could contribute to them being like, oh, hey, she's human. She makes mistakes like I do. Like I think that's a total lovely way to think about it.
1,000%. And there's even the eye lock connection. Like if I'm actually nervous, I will lock eyes with somebody and then I'll be like, you and I,
oh my God,
we're friends.
You are a brave soul. I stare at the like pit of blackness at the end of the venue and sing to it with my full entire heart.
No, but it is. I don't know if this will work, but for me, it's like a moment where it's a real connection. So even if it's someone kind of in the front and you kind of see their joy and it takes you out of your own head because no one cares if you've made that mistake. What they care about is experiencing a lovely night. And I think, that can kind of really quickly shock you out of like, did I do that right versus let go of that and now like put on a safe space for people to have a great time.
That's so sweet. Okay, I'm going to make dead eye contact with the person that is
It'll be me. It'll be me in the front row being like, thumbs up. I love it. You're doing great.
Oh my God, I would love to see that. Has anybody ever looked away when you've tried to make eye contact with them as you're singing?
Oh God!
So curious if that's happened.
Nothing comes to mind, but that would be awkward. I mean, yes, I hope that never. Awkward. I'm knocking on wood over here because that would do the opposite.
I'll make a public service announcement. If Carly ever looks you dead in the eye as she's singing, you have to keep looking at her. You can't look away.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Please do that. That would be really helpful.
I will. I'll tweet it out. It'll be great.
So I guess leading up to release of your album, do you have any kind of plans? Are you just kind of like in anticipation, getting the artwork done, all of the above? Or are you all like set to go?
Pretty much like all of the above. Like I'm really happy it's done. So it's completed and it's ready to come out. And so that's amazing. All the music's written, it's produced, and it's mastered. And that's all you can ask for, really.
What a feeling.
Literally, it's the most relieving feeling ever. And so it's just like everything is kind of getting through the door now and finalizing the final things for it. But it's been fun. I'm like really involved in a lot of the creative aspects of my project, which is how I like it to be. Like I think it's just fun to be able to steer the vision really heavily and get to make something you're proud of. And so it's been really fun and I'm excited for it to come out, and people, I think they've gotten a taste with it with the collab we did together on OK on Your Own. So it's been such a fun time to work on it. Yeah.
Have you announced the date yet?
October 1st is when Dusk comes out.
October 1st is when Dusk comes out. I can't wait. That's so exciting.
Thank you. And do you have anything else that you're excited for in the rest of the remainder of the year?
I'm excited to not have anything else for a little while.
That is such a good plan.
I'm excited to get back into the bones of being a creative again and just sort of thinking about what next sounds. I'm excited. I'm listening to lots of music. I'm having lots of Zoom calls with different producers I'm interested in and kind of getting the bare bone, like building blocks of what will be. But I'm not in a rush about it. I really do have a craving to make something quite different. And I'm allowing myself just, after this week and kind of getting excited about your project, I'm like peacing out for a little bit.
Good. Yeah. It's well-deserved. It's well-deserved. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll be like lots of me and the dog taking walks. That's going to be my
God,
new
that's like the best thing ever is just spending time with your pet and just letting them bark as much as they want to.
Exactly. Sorry about the Zoom callbacks.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, it was lovely talking.
Well, yeah, it was great to catch up with you, Carly. Like, thank you so much for the conversation.
You are so lovely to talk to, and thank you for this beautiful song and letting me be a part of it. And I'm so excited for the Dawn record to come out. I will be the first to buy.
Thank you.
Bye, darling.
Carly Rae Jepsen, mxmtoon, thank you so much for joining us here on the Talkhouse Podcast. Listeners, if you enjoyed today's show, definitely make sure to check out Carly's conversation with Brian Wilson in our archives, as well as mxmtoon's own podcast series right here on the Talkhouse Network.
Thanks to our researcher, Reese Higgins, for help on this episode.
Carly was recorded by Nick Theodorakis, and everyone else you hear self-recorded at their #StayHome Studios.
The producer on our end, the ever-capable Mark Yoshizumi.
And the Talkhouse Podcast theme was composed and performed by The Range. Till next week's show featuring Tame Impala's Kevin Parker with Caribou's Dan Snaith, I'm Elia Einhorn.
And I'm Josh Modell.
Peace.
And ukuleles.